Come one, come all, and welcome to Tea Time with T-Cross.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Tea Time with T-Cross. I have a guest today. My guest is a friend that I went to high school with, and the reason I had her on the podcast is because I had a tough financial week. I couldn't afford my therapist, so I wanted to get a free therapy session this week. So thank you, Shaina, for coming on. You're going to be my therapist for the week.
I'm down. I'll send you a bill later.
No, I will not pay it. My insurance doesn't cover it. So what's the difference between like a therapist and a psychologist? And because there's with dealing with mental health, there's a whole bunch of different types of people. So one, what are you, and what's the difference between all of them?
I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Okay.
So basically, like, you'll see like all these letters at the end of people's names.
Right.
You see, doctor, PsyD, LCSW. So they all mean different things. At the end of the day, LCSW, LPC, LMFT, we're all therapists or counselors. Then you have like an LCADC, which is like a licensed drug and alcohol counselor. So they specifically work with like addictions. Mm-hmm. Doctor is when you start seeing like psychologists, because there's more schooling involved. And then recently they started getting into PsyD, which is different than like PhD. PhD is doctor of like philosophy. PsyD is doctor of psychology. Okay. So that's what they all mean. Okay. That's like the family.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch, and it always confuses me. So what made you want to get involved in being a therapist? Or a counselor? What do you consider yourself?
I call myself a therapist.
Okay.
Just because like it's in my name, like LMFT, the end is therapist, so I just always like call myself a therapist. But it's like a lot of my clients are like, oh, I'm at my doctor. Like if somebody calls them and I'm like, oh, I'm a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but it sounds nice when they refer to me that way. I'm the helper. I'm always a helper. Like, I think in third grade we had like, what do you want to be? And everybody was like, a teacher. And I was like, I think I want to be a therapist.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Wow.
So I think it's the role I've always fallen into, and so it just kind of made sense.
Mm-hmm. Where did you go to school?
So I started at Brookdale. I did 2 years at Brookdale. I loved it because I didn't want any part of the college experience. I don't like big rooms. I don't like big classrooms. I don't like crowds. So I did 2 years at Brookdale. I did the community university at Rutgers, and then I did 3 years at Kane.
Okay,
so I have 7 years.
So you did a lot of schooling. Yeah. Was that a requirement, or did your credits not transfer?
So when I transferred from Brookdale to Rutgers, like my associate's degree transferred, but one of my classes, they said because it was like the AP class from high school, they were trying to call bullshit. They were basically saying because you only got a 3, not a 4, like this doesn't count. So I had to retake the class. Okay. Which was no big deal. I took it over like the winter, but in order to be like a therapist or a counselor, you have to get licensed, which means that you have to like kind of jump through hoops. And do a certain amount of schooling and a certain amount of intern hours in order to get like approval from the state. Mm-hmm. And so the state's pretty tough. Like I don't know if like you have any of your friends of like either nursing or like dental. Like the state's tough.
Yeah, my girlfriend's a nurse.
Yeah, so she could probably tell you firsthand. They're like no business up there.
Yeah. So when you mentioned intern hours, is that like because I know for a number of years you've reached out to me because I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. I post a lot of crazy shit. And often over the number of years, you're like, hey, you're right. You reach out to me often. So first of all, thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
So in the past, I've always like, I can't really afford it now. And you would mention like, go to your local school. They have you can talk to someone who's in school for this stuff. They do it for free. Is that something that you did when you were in school?
Yeah. So for my license, we had to do 5,000 intern hours.
Holy shit!
So that's a lot.
That is a lot.
It's a lot. When they like hit me with the number, I was like, wow, 5,000. And then they break it up into 3 years, and then they break it up into like 1,500 hours over 3 years, which is like I think they give you like 30 hours a week. Like they break it up for you like very specific.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so I did have to intern. So you're free labor.
Yeah.
And it's really nice because like the practice I'm at, and I don't want to speak for them, but like speaking for my experience at their practice, they would do like low cost therapy so folks could still get really good therapy services, but for like a fraction of the cost.
Right. Yeah. That's 5,000.
Yeah.
I can't get over that number. That's so many hours.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a lot. And you mentioned like 30 hours a week. That's almost a full-time job.
Yeah.
While you're in school. Mm-hmm. Was that during the school year, or was that something you were doing over the summer?
No, so I think I started my internship in like August or September because there was like certain requirements to start it. And I remember like I would go to school from like 4:30 to like 10:30, and then I would intern like the days I didn't have school, or like in the mornings I would do like administrative work because you have to do a certain amount of like non-counseling hours as well. And it was all in school and like while working. Like busted my ass like bartending and serving, and then like going to school, and also like a balancing act for sure. Yeah,
that's like 3 full-time jobs.
It's
School,
a lot.
your intern, and then bartending.
Yeah,
holy shit.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Did you enjoy the experience, or was there any point during that where you're like, man, this is fucking crazy, I'm out of here?
So I had like a serious, and like my parents would attest to this, like mental breakdown my first semester. Not like serious mental breakdown, I don't want to say it that way, but I was in one of my classes and it was taught by like a social worker or someone that wasn't in like my direct like LMFT like field. And she basically told us, like, good luck getting an internship. Like, nobody's going to want you guys.
The teacher said that?
Yeah. And I remember
Jesus.
I went home, and I, like, told my parents, I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm transferring out of school. I started looking up, like, schools to transfer to, like, different programs. I, like, freaked out. And then I was like, yo, like, pump the brakes. It's going to be fine. Like, this is just one person's, like, hearsay. And, like, everybody in my cohort was just like, what is going on right now?
Yeah. Those types of teachers need to be weeded out. Like, you hear it in music all the time. Like, my teachers told me I wouldn't be shit.
Yeah.
And you always kind of think, okay, what teacher would tell you something like that? But it does happen.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy to me.
I first didn't believe it. And I was like, did she really just say that? Yeah. And, like, to this day, I'm like, yo, that teacher, like, definitely could have put a lot of people out of, their, like, goal. And
your position, your field is super important.
Yeah.
It's an underused field, just therapy, mental health stuff in general. It's really underused. Mm-hmm. And with her, you would have met, like you said, I'm sure a bunch of people are like, what? Fuck this, I'm out of here.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm sure those types of teachers need to be
And I think it was specifically because, like, there's not a lot of, like, marriage and family therapists in New Jersey. It's definitely becoming more popular, but if you look anywhere, you see, like, LCSW or, like, LPC. And so I don't know if she just had, like, a disdain for, like, our field, or if she was just trying to be, like, real and be like good luck because, like, I don't know where you're going to find a practice or, like, somebody to let you intern.
Yeah, but even then, you have a bunch of people in the field that could say, well, maybe I'll start my own practice and make this field of therapy be more accessible. And she could have just ruined a lot of that. Well, that's terrible.
One of my ethics professors actually, like, has a practice in New Jersey and has a practice in New York, and it's a teaching practice. And to, like, this day, if, like, clients come to me and they're like, oh, I need couples therapy, pardon me, I refer everybody to her because I know that she was, like, a dope teacher. She was really awesome and, like, knew her stuff. And so, like, you have both. Like, you have it anything, right? You could have, like, an awesome coach and then, like, a terrible coach.
Right.
So I think it's just about, like, all right, that's just her experience, and, like, whatever you do with it is on you.
Right.
Because I'm sure plenty of people could have walked away.
Right.
And it is, however you internalize it.
Yeah. So what made you want to do marriage and family counseling as opposed to anything else?
So I wanted to be a sex therapist. I still want to be a sex therapist.
Hell
but
yeah.
Before I got into Kane, I applied to Rutgers.
Okay.
And they have a PhD program, and I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. Like, little Shaina wanted to be a fucking doctor. And I still want to be a doctor. And I applied there, and I actually got an interview with the gentleman that ran the O Lab, which is the orgasm lab. And I went, my mom drove me to Newark, and I, like, went into the interview, and he was like, I will take you as an intern, like, at my lab, like, just get into the program. Like, you're good. Didn't get in the program.
Why not?
I don't know. They probably take, like, 5 people, and I didn't, like, meet the standards.
Right.
So I remember, like, checking my Rutgers, and I didn't get in, and I was just, like, bawling. And I was like, what am I going to do now? Like, had no clue what I was going to do.
Was that a fun car ride with your mom? Like, we're going to the orgasm lab with my mom.
I don't even think, like, my parents are so supportive. I don't even think it was, like, anything. She was like, yeah, my daughter wants to be a sex therapist. Like, it is what it is.
That's cool.
Yeah, so she drove me up to Newark because I don't like driving places I'm not familiar with, like, by myself. I was like, you want to go?
And
like,
Newark's not the safest of places. Depending on where you go.
Where the school is not really that safe, I'm going to be honest. Yeah. When I was enrolled there for undergrad, we would get a lot of emails sent out about technology being stolen. That was really popular when I was in undergrad.
Really?
Like, keep your phone away, don't have your iPad out, like, don't wear your earbuds, like, just get in and out of the building.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I'm really glad I don't actually go to campus
Yeah.
because I would be anxious to go to school. But I didn't get in. I was like, what am I going to do now? Like, all right, sex therapy, like, that still lines up with couples and families. And then I looked at a couple programs, and I really didn't, none of the other programs, like, resonated. And I was like, all right, like, let's go to Kane. It's close, it's quick, it's cheap.
Right.
And
that's big.
Yeah.
The
And
cheapness.
you could be, like, in and out quick.
Yeah. So one thing that I've always wondered about therapists, do you consider the people that you see clients? Do you consider them patients?
So I think it depends where you work, but I prefer the word client.
Okay.
Because I think it's a little bit...
Feels more inclusive, like you're working together
Yeah,
almost.
and it's also, like, not doctory. Like, I feel like patient belongs to, like, doctor. Like,
Right.
you're in, like, more of, like, a medical practice where, like, client feels more, like, safe and it feels more relational. Like, I feel like patient is like a doctor. Like, it's not really the same relationship.
Right. So with marriage counseling, I think that's a huge thing that needs to be more available and more just out there more, because the divorce rates continue to go through the roof. What's it at now? Like 60%,
I couldn't
something
even
like
tell
that?
you. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's way up there. So do you think that it's because they don't have the right counseling to get them through their issues? Is it because of social media? People are too connected these
Yeah.
days? What's the problem, you think?
So I, like, when clients come in and they're like, you know, we want to do couples counseling, I tell them, like, good couples counseling isn't always keeping couples together. And that's, like, just brutally honest. Sometimes couples don't have the same goals, and the goal is to, like, have a successful split up.
Right.
So it's not always about making it work if both parties don't really want to make it work. But I think a lot of it is that people come too late. And that they don't really look at, like, important aspects of relationships before getting married or getting serious, like money and finances and, like, kids and things like that. And now they're, like, 10, 15 years in, and they're like, we don't see eye to eye a lot of, like, on these, like, core values.
Right.
So I think that I love when couples come in and they're, like, not married yet, because they're so, like, ready and willing to, like, make it last.
Yeah, the one thing you mentioned there was having a successful split up. So essentially marriage counseling or couples counseling, whatever you want to call it, isn't necessarily like, hey, let's save this relationship. Let's figure out how to make both of you happy, whether that's together or separate.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
I
that's
think,
interesting.
I think it's unrealistic to say that, like, every relationship goes to couples counseling to stay together.
Right.
Because I just don't see that as realistic.
Yeah.
And so, you know, sometimes people come in and, like, they don't know how to split up. Like, they have children and they feel, like, stuck, but listen, we could do co-parenting. Like, we can do so many different things.
Which is really difficult under a situation like that right now.
So I don't always see it as, like, keeping a couple together, because if that's not what they want, they shouldn't be forced into it.
Right.
Like, it's not my job to keep you together if that's not ultimately what you want.
Right. Do you ever get couples that are, like, a group of 4 that are in a co-parenting situation, like the mom, dad, and their respective significant others?
I don't think I've ever worked with co-parenting that way. I'm trying to think.
We might need that.
Yeah. So I can't see you, right? I tell everybody I'm a therapist. I'm not your therapist. And, you know, this is, like, free today, I guess,
Yeah.
right? But, you know, there's a lot of really good resources out there for co-parenting. And you want to find a therapist that is trained in co-parenting. You don't want to, I guess, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It fell out of my head when you dropped the bottle.
Sorry.
But yeah, you want to look like, if you go on Psychology Today, like, you want to click, like, co-parenting or something like that, where someone has a background in it. And somebody that's willing to work with all the parties. I
Right.
think that's really important. And
Yeah.
somebody that is willing to listen to everybody.
Right. Yeah, we might need that. I am not a fan of the other guy.
I'll sip my tea on that one.
We might need you to come in and...
I cannot do that, but I can refer you people.
So are you not allowed to see people that you know personally?
Nobody.
Is that a law, or
It's
is that...
an ethical thing.
Ethical thing?
Yeah. Because, like, when you look at it, like, therapists are supposed to be unbiased, right? They're supposed to be like a third party. They're supposed to be supportive and, compassionate and empathetic and all of that. And it's really hard to do that if you know somebody.
Right.
Because what you would tell a friend, you wouldn't always say to a client.
Right.
Right? Like, you're not... Your friend, you could be like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, get out. Or, like, why are you making that decision? Like, it's dumb.
Uh-huh.
And you wouldn't say that to a client.
Right.
You would do it in a way that's, like, asking questions so they can, like, uncover truth for themselves.
Right. So how difficult is it for you to not be a therapist to your friends? Like, are you constantly being the therapist to your, like, if your friend is just trying to gossip to you, like, how hard do you have to turn the switch off and how easily can you turn it back on? That's got to be difficult.
I try to be really mindful when I'm at work to not engage in conversations like that because I can't do both at once. Mm-hmm. Like, if I'm on my lunch break, like, I use my lunch break, I FaceTime my boyfriend on his way home from work, or not on his way home from work, like, if he's at work and he has a minute, or, like, I call him, I eat my lunch, I listen to my music, I do my notes, but I try not to, like, download a lot of that stuff while I'm at work.
Right.
And... It's hard, though.
Yeah.
Like, there's sometimes where, like, someone will text me something, and I want to say something, but I'm like, that's not your job.
Yeah.
Like, that's not your job right now.
Yeah.
Like, just be a friend.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like I don't know how to.
Right.
Because I feel like it's so, like, ingrained in my person. I want to be like, how can I help you? Or, like, what? And now I'm just like, all right, like, how? I don't know. Sometimes I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I say that. I'm like, I don't know how to help you right now.
Yeah.
Because... Like, we have to realize sometimes, like, friends don't want our help all the time. Like, they just want to vent.
Right.
And that's not my, like, initial response. My initial response is, like, how can I help you? What do you need from me? Like, and it's tough.
Yeah. Are you on the Psychology Today website?
No.
Oh, damn.
Why?
Because I wanted to see what your profile said.
Oh, no. I have a profile at my work profile, but I don't have anything. I don't even know how, like, to put yourself on Psychology Today, or if you can do that if you're in, like, a private practice.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Where is your practice?
In Eatontown.
You got this wonderful woman here.
I'm full.
Oh, you're full?
Yeah.
Not accepting anymore?
I'm not, no.
I guess that's a good thing, though, right?
We're in a mental health crisis.
Yeah.
Like,
I
it's
can imagine.
bad.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
Yeah.
That there's just, like, not enough trained bodies. They actually, like, the state was giving out, like, emergency licenses to, like,
really?
Therapists that were graduating.
Wow.
They were like, here's your license, like, let's go. Because they need help. Like, much like they were doing with, like, doctors and nurses. They were doing that for, like, therapists as well. Like, just trying to get as much support as possible.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in your field, I imagine just couples spending too much time together because they're locked in their house.
Yeah.
And that can be a huge problem. Like, you could love someone to death, but, like, hey, I need my alone time. And now a lot of people aren't getting their escape. I don't want to use the word escape from their significant other, but escape for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I think that, time for yourself and self-care is really important in a relationship. And I know, like, for me personally, like, I'm all about makeup, so I know when, like, I can have, like, an hour or two to do my makeup and, like, chill and vibe, and, like, that's cool. And my boyfriend likes to fix old cars, so, like, go in your garage, do this. Like, you can still operate in the home and have time to yourself.
Right. It's difficult, though, because a lot of times the time that you want doesn't coincide. Like, right now is my time to fix cars. And you're like, but I want to watch the Jeffrey Dahmer movie. Like, let's go look about murder. Like, worry about your cars later. And then that's when people can butt heads. That can be a huge problem.
I think that, I'm really lucky where he, like, respects my boundaries. And I try to respect his boundaries as well. And I think that it's really important to, like, if your partner needs space, like, respect that boundary. Because if you don't respect the boundary, like, there's going to be resentment. Like, you're going to feel that pushback, whether it's them being mad at you or them not giving you respect when you want, like, a boundary to be put up.
Right.
So I think that, like, even though it doesn't work for you at that moment, like, you need to make, like, it needs to be negotiated.
Right.
Like, there has to be, like, a mutual understanding where, like, I don't understand where you're coming from right now, but, like, I want to know, so I'm going to let you, like, vibe.
Right. Yeah. It's tough when you're trying to ask for personal space, because some people can take that, really personally. Like, oh, you don't want to spend time with me.
Yeah.
I do when it's time for that.
Yeah.
But right now, I want time for me, because I like me as well. I want to hang out with me.
Oh, for sure.
I don't get that often. So when I have my chance to get that, respect that, and then I'll hang out with you later.
Yeah. I like love Bailey Sarian. I don't know if you know who she's on YouTube. She does like makeup murder mystery Mondays, where she like talks about like murder stuff and she does makeup, and like
that's interesting.
It's so good. I like live for that. So if I have like an hour or two, I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Right.
And just like understand that like it has to be a mutual respect.
Mm-hmm. So do you, kind of switching gears here onto the makeup thing,
Yeah.
you have a YouTube page for your
I do,
makeup,
but
right?
I'm like,
Or
I
on
free
Instagram?
float on it. Yeah.
So is that something you want to do like on the side, like do makeup work on like a movie set or something
Not
per se?
on like a movie set, but I like to do it for fun. Like I do like SFX stuff for fun and just like makeup for fun. I used to do like prom makeups and stuff back in the day and like make money off of it, but
well, you're really good at it.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, as a guy, I don't wear makeup,
Yeah.
so it's not like, oh my god, your blush is so good, like, but you can. A lot of people will overdo it.
Yeah.
You do a good job of wearing it, but not showing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all about the blend.
Right.
Although, I don't know if you know what like IMATS is. Okay, so it's like a makeup trade show, and I went with a couple of my friends like before pre-Panorama, and one of the gentlemen like working there was like, "Oh, you must be from Jersey because I can see your contour from here." And I was like, "Yes, I am. Like I am from Jersey. Thank you."
Where was the show?
It was in New York.
Oh, it was in New
No,
York.
it was in New York, and I think it was like somebody working at like the Mac counter or something. I was like, "This isn't like, thank you, yeah."
That's
I'm
so
from
funny.
Jersey.
Do you ever get to practice on your boyfriend? Does he let you do it?
I'm gonna not comment on that one.
That's a yes.
No.
You gotta have some. You gotta send me some pictures. I'll put it in the YouTube
There are
page.
no pictures of that.
Really?
No.
So you guys are engaged, right?
Not engaged, no.
Oh, I don't know why I thought that. Maybe.
We've been building a house for
Yeah.
the last like 2 years.
Yeah,
almost.
I saw that. So I don't want to be creepy here, but you posted like pictures of the new house.
Yeah.
I know exactly where that is because I drive past it all the time delivering for Uber Eats, and I'm always like,
John, watch out.
Watch
out.
That house looks awesome because it's got the big garage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's perfect for a man cave.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep an eye on that, wait for it to go up for sale.
Yeah, we sniped that.
Yeah. I feel so creepy right now. I'm so sorry. But
Sinking into my chair.
I saw it. I see it all the time. It's a beautiful house. Congrats
Thank
to
you.
you guys.
Yeah, John is like, he did everything himself.
Yeah.
Like I help, but I'm not like handy the way
Right.
he is. Like if you tell me do something, I
Yeah.
can probably fix. He will. He is like, it is perfection.
Yeah, it's really,
Yeah,
it
it's so
looks really
nice.
nice. So are you guys living there yet, or are you
Not
just
yet.
like okay?
Yeah, don't creep it, but not yet.
Well, I'm creeping it.
Don't put that on the internet.
Now I know that I'm okay to park in the driveway and peek inside because, like, hey,
No,
I know the people
our
that
neighbor
own this.
watches the house for us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, if they tell you somebody's peeking in the house, it's probably.
If I had my glasses on, I'd peep them down right now at you. But yeah. Now we're slow and steady. Hopefully soon.
So are you guys in an apartment right now, or?
No, we live at our I live with my parents. He lives at his parents.
Right. So, who's gonna pop the question? How do you feel about
Who's
girls?
gonna pop? What do you mean? Me pop the question?
Yeah, you're not you're
Yeah,
traditional.
no,
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that.
Right. So, kind of back to the mental health thing. That was the reason we came here. So, can you prescribe medications?
No.
No.
So I don't
Can
know.
you suggest them? Like, you should go. Like, how do you get somebody to prescribe like antidepressants?
So if you needed medication, a lot of folks will go to their like general practitioner, which is fine. But I prefer like my clients go to like a psychiatrist or like a nurse practitioner because there's a little bit more schooling around like psychotropic medication. So somebody would just have to call like a psychiatrist's office, or like if you're in New Jersey and you're listening and you need meds, you could call ICE, which is Early Intervention Support Services. They're in Neptune, and they're like a walk-in kind of for medication, and they do crisis stuff. But you don't want to speak out of your lane. Like, you got to stay in your lane.
Right.
Like, really. And so I'll always ask clients, like, you know, have you ever thought about it? Are you on medications? Like, I'm not a med pusher. So I'm very much like client-centered. So like if you want meds, cool. I can help, you know, get you linked. If you don't want meds, that's also cool. But, you know, let's reevaluate that if, you know, symptoms are not really pumping the brakes the way you want them to.
So you're not a med pusher, but how do you feel about the people that use them? Not like, oh, those people are bad, but do you think there's a lot of people taking them that don't actually need them, and that people are too quick to prescribe the medications instead of like, let's try to change up your diet first. Let's try to get you to exercise first.
Yeah, I can understand that because, mental health also goes with like holistic well-being.
Right.
And so a lot of times something that could present as mental health could also be, let's check our thyroid, right? Let's check our B12. Let's check like our electrolytes. Like let's check everything and then let's take that route.
Right.
Which like if you follow like the medical model, like it's supposed to be like medical and then like the therapy medication aspect. Because you can't treat something like, for example, if someone is like hyperthyroid, you can't put them on anti-anxiety medication and expect it to fix because the thyroid's not being, checked on.
Right.
So I prefer like let's cover all our bases and then see what's up.
Right. Yeah, because my therapist that I'm seeing now, it hasn't even come up in conversation, hasn't mentioned it. I went to therapy a number of years ago, and within the first 10 minutes that I was there, the woman was like, we got to get you on some meds.
Oh, wow.
Like, right away.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in a lot worse place back then. Like, one of the first things was like, I kind of want to drive my car off a cliff. Like, right away, she was like, all right, let's get you on some meds. And I was like, not interested in meds. Like, what else you got? Like, right away, she was like, let's get you on something. And I was kind of skeptical about it because I'm more of a like, let's try exercise and diet because that stuff also helps,
Yeah, I think it really also depends on like where you are as far as like who you are as a therapist and like where the client is, and sometimes you have to meet people where they are.
Right.
And so, it sounds like she was really concerned for you, and that's probably where it was coming from, rather than like a med pushing. But I can't like speak on that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a different type of therapist. I was in a different spot than I am now, but I mean, this last year has been really difficult.
Yeah.
Really in a lot of ways for a lot of people. So are you seeing clients in person, or are you still all Zoom?
So we can't use Zoom. Like my practice doesn't use Zoom, and I don't use Zoom because it's not like HIPAA compliant. I know that because because we're in a Patricia. I'm just drop different P words for that. You can use it. Like there's a lot of things that the state kind of like took away for HIPAA as far as like telehealth services and things like that. So you can use Zoom. We just don't use Zoom. We use like a different platform. But I am probably like 80% virtual, like 20% in person.
Okay.
And
does the in person feel uncomfortable? Does everybody have to wear a mask? Like how is that working?
we wear masks. My office is big. I'm really grateful for that. So I sit like I measured it because I'm like I just want to know how far are we. We're like 8.5 feet away, and they do have to sign a waiver, and we take their temperatures, and they have to be mindful of like their social distancing and things like that because we want to keep everybody safe.
Right.
Like myself, my family, them, their family, everybody comes into contact with us.
Right.
So that's like the most important part of it.
Yeah, the guy that when I was kind of skeptical about the over the Zoom thing when I first started with my guy now. So when I sent him an email, I was like, I'd really prefer in person sort of thing. And he was like, I am 100% virtual. Like that doesn't work for you. That's fine.
Yeah.
But when I read his profile on the Psychology Today, I was like, man, this is the guy. Like this is definitely the guy. I was like, you know what? Let's give the virtual a try. And glad I did. He's super helpful. I'm really appreciative. And you were the one that suggested Psychology Today to me. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. I think that you can be just as supportive virtually. I think that, at first clients are really skeptical. They're like, oh, like this isn't the connection I want when people are craving connection so bad. But I think that, if the client wants to put in the work and the therapist is down to put in the work too, it can work.
Uh-huh. Do you ever have not in person, like you travel to somebody's house or they have to come to you?
No, I don't do in-home services.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a thing though?
So I guess it depends on where you work, like what your type of therapy is, because like ABA therapists, they go like in the home. That's like a behavior therapist, and they work like very close with their clients, like on like behavior modification. So they're in home.
Okay.
There's places like Mobile Response, which is like a crisis service where they go in home, they do an evaluation, and then they go to the home.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So one thing that I've always been curious is, how do you get ready for a set? Do you call them sessions?
Yeah, I call them a session.
So how do you get ready for a session? Because the first time I went to therapy, it kind of seemed like it was, all right, your time's up, the next person starts immediately.
Yeah.
Like, so it doesn't seem like there's any prep time. So like, is it the morning before your whole day? You're like, I got to read over my notes because like my therapist now, and I'm sure you do the same, as I'm talking, he's writing stuff down.
No, I don't write.
You don't write at all?
No. So the first session, we like ask, like, is it okay if I take notes? And like, I would handwrite, but I like to like praise myself on my memory. I have a really good memory, so I try to just like stay really engaged, and then I'll do notes afterwards.
Okay.
But like when I prepare for the morning, like I listen to rap on my way to work. I get my coffee, I listen to rap on the way to work, and I try to get to work early just to like because I don't like rushing places. Like rushing makes me anxious. So if I'm like not 30 minutes early, like I'm late.
Okay.
And then I like prep in the morning, I prep on my lunch break, and then I literally maybe have like 3 minutes in between clients to like maybe pee if nobody's in the bathroom, and then get back.
Okay.
And go.
Wow. So that's got to be difficult, no?
Yeah.
Because I assume, your sessions are an hour usually.
Yeah, I run like 50 to 55 minutes depending on like what's going on.
Yeah. And so then you have a few minutes in between to go pee, as you said. So I'd imagine you have probably anywhere from 7, 8, depending on how long your day goes. I'm just going to assume 8-hour day, 8 clients a day. You flip a switch, you get new clients in, and you, with no prep, remember can bring up references from previous weeks and what they have going on. That's got to be fucking hard, no?
Yes and no. Sometimes I'm honest and I'm just like, wait, what was that friend's name again? Because sometimes like people have so many friends they talk about, or people reference so many things, and I can't always follow it, and so I'll be honest and I'll be like, wait, can you just like hold off for a minute just so I understand like what you're saying. So I try to like check in very frequently to make sure like I'm hearing what they're telling me and like that I'm getting the story correct. And then like as I'm typing the notes in the computer, I try to just like replay it in my head. And some in the mornings, if I'm like, oh, like I saw that client like a month ago, like what's going on? Like I'll like look back through things.
So with your clients, is it you for the most part every week, every other week, once a month?
It depends.
I'm sure it varies, but like for the most part.
A lot of weekly and bi-weekly. Just really, it depends on like clients' needs, like what they can afford sometimes, where they are in their journey. Everybody's really different.
Right. So do you do sliding scale? Do you have specific pricing?
We do sliding scale for folks with non-insurance, and then we take insurance too.
Yeah.
But I think that like if you go on Psychology Today too, which is really cool, you can click off like if you want to go through insurance or if you have like a price limit.
Yeah.
Because I know that therapy it can be expensive.
Yeah.
And that's why people don't always have access to it.
Right. Yeah. My insurance covers zilch.
Same.
Not at all.
Yeah. Well, it might, but I think my therapist is out of network, so I just pay.
Yeah, mine doesn't doesn't cover anything. Mm-hmm. So when I discuss price with my guy now, I was like, at the end of the day, when you're going to therapy, it becomes an investment in yourself. You're not just paying for a service, you're investing in yourself and your healing and helping yourself. Mm-hmm. So when I looked at it that way, because I don't even remember who said it to me. It might have even been you, where I was like, I can't really afford it. And somebody was like, you're not buying something.
Yeah.
You're like, this is an investment. This is an important thing to do. When I looked at it that way, I was like, all right, I could probably sit down and figure out a way to afford this. So when my first session with the guy, when we were talking about the price, he was like, what can you afford? I'm like, what do you need? Mm-hmm. Like, I want, you also have a family and a house and kids. Like, this is what you do for a living. So you're offering a service. You tell me what it costs, and I'll make it work. Yeah. Because
he probably loved that.
Oh, yeah. He's like, every week, he's like, you're like the easiest person to work with. Where I'm always on time. I don't complain about what it costs or anything. Yeah. Like, I remember the first session, I was like, hey, so I don't get paid till Tuesday. Like, our sessions are on Friday. Is it okay if I pay you on Tuesdays? He's like, you could pay me at the end of the month if you want. Most people don't even ask.
Oh, yeah.
If they're late with payment, they don't even ask. They just pay me whenever. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, like, I feel weird hounding people for it. So he's like, I love that first session. You're like, hey, is it okay that I don't pay you on the exact day? Yeah. He's like, super cool. I love it. So
it is an investment because it's it's your healing, and I always tell clients, like, if this isn't a good match, like, that's okay.
Right.
Because, like, at the end of the day, like, we work for the client. Like, if we're not working for you, that's okay, but you deserve it, and you owe it to yourself to find one that does.
Right. So how often do you think people go see a therapist and it's not a match and they say, oh, therapy doesn't work for me?
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
I would say that a lot of people get really probably defeated.
Yeah.
When it's not a good match and they're just, like, not finding a jive, and they're like, oh, like, basically, like, fuck therapy. Like, therapy doesn't work.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is that people have misconceived expectations about, like, what therapy is.
Right.
And that they have, like, not really a full understanding of, like, what it is to be in therapy, or they have, like, TV that tells them, like, oh, this is what therapy is, and then they see it in reality, and it's not what they thought it was.
Yeah. The way therapy is on TV has not been my experience at all. like the laying on the couch with my feet up. What do you see in this picture?
Yeah.
Like I'm sure that exists, but it's not been my experience at all. But I've had a lot of people when I mentioned therapy, because I'm pretty open about it. I'm doing a podcast about it. I talk about it on other episodes. People often ask me, like, how it works and whatnot, and other people that don't ask, I say, like, have you ever considered therapy? And some people almost get offended by that. People are, like, really look down on it, and it's super unfortunate because a lot of those people would benefit from it. So how often do you, like, suggest to friends, like, have you considered therapy? And, like, because that's got to be a difficult line that you have to draw.
I don't know. Maybe, like, once or twice.
Oh, really?
I've said, like, like, if they were really going through something, and I was like, did you ever, like, consider getting, like, additional support for yourself?
Right.
Or, like, did you ever think about, like, maybe, therapy?
Yeah.
I try to do it, like, I don't want to therapy push on people.
Right.
But, if your friends are struggling, the least you could do is, like, offer help.
Right.
And, like, you can't help your friends in the ways that they always need them.
Right.
And there's plenty of people out there that can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I try not to, like, push it, but sometimes I'm just like, you could use it.
Yeah, it's got to be difficult for somebody who's in the therapy field, like, oh, you just want me to go because, like, that's what you do, like.
Yeah, and then sometimes, like, friends will tell me about their therapist, and I'm like, what? Like, is that real?
Yeah.
Like, is that out there?
Really?
Yeah, and so I'm just like, I don't, there's good and bad therapists out there.
Yeah.
Like with everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, like, I'm a good therapist, but, like, sometimes I get questionable with some things that people tell me.
If your schedule is full, I imagine you're pretty good at what you do.
I would think so. I hope that, people think I am, but I also think that that's also a personal point of reference.
Right.
Right? Someone could come across and be like, wow, she's blunt and direct, and I don't like that. And I think that that's why therapy is so beautiful, is that there's so many different styles of therapists out there, and so many different personalities, and like what works for one person isn't always going to work for somebody else.
Yeah. And what I like about therapists is they're not like, this is the way I do my therapy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to change that, like, the way I do my job to help to get you to stay. Like, if we don't match, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people will change how they do to try to keep a customer around, and not that your clients are customers, but at the end of the day they pay you, so they kind of are. I know that's a bad, I would assume that's not a word that you guys often use. Like,
no.
Dealt with a customer yesterday, it was a real asshole. Like,
definitely not. We don't use the word customer.
Yeah, I figured not, but that's something that I like about therapists, and it's a good and a bad. Like, I'm sure a lot of people will, like we were saying earlier, will say, oh, well, therapy sucks. Like, I saw a therapist and I didn't like what he did. Like, because I've had a number of people where I, like, therapy push on them, and they're like, I've gone before, it doesn't work. I'm like, no, therapy works. Yeah. For sure. It's proven. That's why a lot of people go. You just haven't found the right one. Yeah,
and a lot of times people have this idea that, like, therapists, like, fix you.
Right.
And, like, you're not broken, right? You're not a clock. You don't need to be fixed. It's not a repair studio.
Right.
Like, you have to put the work in.
Right.
And I think some people want change but don't want to do the work.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like addiction. Like you can go to rehab and whatnot, but at the end of the day, you have to want to help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't. There's no fix. Like you need to want. You need to want to do it. You can go to therapy all you want, but if you're forced to be there, then yeah, it doesn't work because you don't want to be there.
Yeah, you have to be committed.
Right. So you had mentioned that you also go to therapy.
Yeah.
So that's.
I'm super open about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had asked my therapist about this. I'm like, you spend your.
Oh, you asked him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I was like, because it's.
I've never had anybody ask me.
It's fascinating to me because like you spend your whole day every day.
Yeah.
Having people unload their bullshit and negativity, and you're like, your whole day is spent just being fed and have negativity and people screaming at you and shoving their problems on you. And then you're just going to go home and, have a glass of wine and eat dinner and be all fine and dandy. There's no way that that's possible. And I'm shocked that people don't often ask their therapists, like, how do you deal with all this shit? Because there's no way your life is all, flowers and butterflies.
I think that a lot of people are so into their experience that they don't even, think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever had anybody ask me, but I think that it's, good supervision is really important because I don't go to therapy to talk about my clients. I go to supervision to get supervision about my clients, and then I go to therapy to deal with my own shit.
Right. That's interesting. So I'm sorry, what was the word that you used about your clients? How does that work?
So you also, by the state, you have to have supervision by, a clinical supervisor. So basically, they're, your mentor.
Okay.
And they kind of help support you with your clients to make sure that, you're on the right track, or, if you're stuck, you can get, input.
Right. Do they ever sit in on your sessions, or do you...
So when I first started, with client consent, I had to do a couple of, recorded ones, or, audio recorded ones for school. But they've never sat in on any of them. I actually worked with them on, a client, a couple, but they've never, sat in on it.
So does every therapist have, one mentor that they go to, or does one mentor have, that's their whole job, is they...
I don't know, actually, if, people are just supervisors, because I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
But I know that, supervisors can have multiple people that they supervise.
Right. Do you want to do that one day?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It makes me nervous. Yeah. And then it kind of goes back to that, imposter syndrome, which, a lot of people have, where it's I'm not good enough, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing,
right.
I can't do this.
Yeah. Do a lot of therapists deal with that, you think?
Oh, I think everybody does.
Yeah.
There's a really, really good book by the woman that runs Psychotherapy Memes, and it's called Therapy is Awkward Sometimes, or Sometimes Therapy is Awkward, and she talks about it in there, questioning, am I good enough, and also, feeling that you're not good enough and, caring about your clients, is important.
Right.
Because that means that you care.
Right. Yeah, imposter syndrome is so interesting. Because I definitely have it as well. One of the things that I don't want to say I'm an expert in it, but fighting. Mm-hmm. I know how to fight.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm pretty good at it. I'm sure people in my gym would say that I'm pretty good. So when I'm in the gym training, when a new person that's brand new to the gym will call me over and say hey, can you help me? I get really anxious.
Oh yeah.
Because if I was watching you, and I could say to myself, what you're doing is wrong, but then when you're asking me to explain it to you and help you fix the problem, I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah, I always get really nervous when people come to me because, in my head, I'm still 25 and I just started graduate school.
Right.
And it's actually no, you're, a lot out of graduate school and, you've been doing this a while now and I still feel why are you looking at me? Why are you asking me these questions? I can't answer those for you.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. Dr. Drew talks about it a lot too on his show, where it feels I feel like I'm still I don't actually know what I'm talking about, but I have all these degrees that prove that I do.
Yeah, it's really a catch-22.
Right. Yeah. So how do you deal with that?
Sometimes I just sit in it for a while.
Yeah.
In the morning when I get ready, I'm why? You can't do... for today, I told my boyfriend the other day, I was I was trying to talk myself out of it.
Really?
I don't want to do this. I can't do this.
Yeah, you were super nervous when you were talking about it yesterday.
Yeah. I literally told him, I was I almost canceled and just said I couldn't do it. And he was why? And I was I'm just anxious. I I have like a lot of anxiety, so like when things like this come up, I'm like, I'm not qualified to talk about this.
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
What do you do for your anxiety?
I go to therapy. I use like a lot of like breathing techniques. Sometimes I just ride it out. What else? I'm trying to think. That's really it. Yeah, a lot of breathing techniques. Sometimes I write it out. Sometimes I talk myself out of it. But it's more like situational nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Not as much of like, when I was in graduate school, it was really bad because I was a procrastinator, which is like a lot of people with anxiety are procrastinators.
Right.
And I'm also a perfectionist.
Right.
So it's like
Yeah.
the worst,
Yeah.
like,
Bad
mold.
combo.
Yeah. So like when I was doing my undergraduate like research paper, I waited till the day before to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was up till like 7 o'clock in the morning writing it where I thought my eyes were going to bleed.
Right.
Because I was like so anxious about writing it, and then I procrastinated so long, and then I was like so nervous that it had to be perfect.
Right.
So today I was like, I can't do this. It has to be perfect.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, do I need to prepare questions?
Yeah.
You were like, no questions, and I was like, what do you mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm this, and that's why I was anxious because I didn't have like a schedule.
Yeah. I was like, no, we just kind of have a conversation, let it go. You're like, I can imagine what was going on in your head.
I was freaking out.
I don't need to prepare anything. How is this going to work?
I don't do that.
Yeah.
So now I do.
Yeah.
But I don't do that. And that's like when the anxiety pumps in and it's like, you can't do this.
So does your I don't want to get too, like, you can not answer the question, but does your boyfriend, like, have any sort of depression or anxiety or anything?
I'm not going to diagnose him.
Okay.
I don't know. I know that he's a perfectionist, which, like, a lot of us are.
Right.
But I don't know where that operates out of. Like,
Right.
I'm not going to... I just look at him as John.
Right.
And take him how he is.
Yeah. So the reason I asked is because, I have, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend doesn't. And
Yeah.
she's older, so she's going to... Listen to this. She's going to be 40 this year. I'm 27, so she's a lot older than me. And, she was married for, like, 10 years. And so she's never dealt with anybody that has these, anxiety attacks and has, like outbursts of anger and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So she's never dealt with it. And she's, like, confused, essentially, on how to handle me because I am a lot to handle. I'm grateful that she's, she often asks questions like, what can I do to help? Like, this
great
and that.
questions.
Yeah. And a lot of times I don't have an answer because she's also somebody that likes to help. And, like I don't remember if we were talking about it before we were on or not, but like sometimes I don't want you to help me. I just want you to listen.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Just let me fucking get it out and you just sit there and be just let me yell at you.
Yeah.
Not at you, but yell in your direction.
So, if I can therapist you, like, you can have a conversation, like, before this stuff happens, and, like, something she can offer you, which is, like, what I offer my clients, is, like, what do you need from me in this moment?
Right.
And, like, that kind of lets you say, like, I need to vent, like, I need this, I need that. And it offers her to know that, like, this isn't for her to fix. I think, like, as helpers, like, we always want to fix, and, like, sometimes you don't.
Right.
And you can't.
Yeah. And she often asks me, like, what I talk about in my therapy sessions. Yeah. And I'm like, it's not your business. Like, it's private. It's very private. So how do you but, like, what's your stance on privacy as far as your clients?
What do you mean?
Like, do you know them, like, outside of your sessions? Like, my therapist, one day we were talking about my jiu-jitsu and whatnot, and he's like, oh, the guy that, owns my practice, he does jiu-jitsu. And, like, in the ideas of privacy, he's like, I don't know you. Like,
I don't know them.
Like, if you guys run into each other and he brings you up in conversation, I've never met you a day in my life.
Yeah, that's how it works,
Okay.
ethically. There's, like, this idea of dual relationship.
Right.
So, like, I've run into clients in person, and unless there's an acknowledgement, I don't know you.
Really?
Yeah. And a lot of times I'll have conversations with clients like, hey, like, I live local to where you live. Like, if we run into each other, this is how it's going to go. Like, just letting you know.
Interesting. I haven't ran into him yet. He also lives local.
And it's the same thing with, like, if a friend comes into where I work, there's no acknowledgement unless they acknowledge me first.
Do you think, has anyone ever said, like, hey, I saw you at the supermarket. You were kind of rude to me. Like,
oh, no. It'll just be like, hey, like, I saw you at so-and-so, like, and I didn't know what to do, so I just wanted to let you know now.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be like that.
Okay.
But I think I'm blessed with, like, really amazing clients.
Yeah.
And, like, their respect and understanding for, like, I'm a real human. I'm not, like, a teacher. Like, I live under my desk, like
Right.
a lot of kids thought.
Right.
That they're awesome.
That's
Yeah.
good. Are you allowed to fire clients, per
Yeah.
se? Really? How does that work?
It depends. So, like, every place has different policies. So, you know, I'm, like, an ethics... I'm, like, super about the ethics. So, like, if this isn't working and it's, like, not working, like, I am obligated to, like, send you places that would work.
Mm-hmm. So has it ever happened where they think it is working and you're like, this is a problem?
No.
That's never happened?
No.
Because that's another thing that always, like, I'm fascinated by with therapists. Like, if you're dealing with a client who's just a nightmare, not like their problems are bad and they're a strain on you hearing about them, but, like, this person's, you know, they're always late, they don't pay me on time, they're just seemingly a bad person, and I don't want to deal with them anymore. You can just say, like, hey, this isn't working, here's a suggestion.
No, so, you know, you would have a conversation with them.
Okay.
Right? Because it's relational. So, like,
Right.
hey, I'm noticing, like, you're late often. Like, what's going on? How can we get you here?
Right.
Because I don't think anybody is inherently bad. I just think that sometimes, as humans, like, things get in the way.
Right.
Even though we have the best intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you can have a conversation. Like, you know, hey, Tom, you know, you're always, like, 30 minutes late. Like, how can we get you here on time? Do we need to move the session? Like, do you need a text message reminder? Like, what's going on?
Right.
How can we get you here?
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I just had a good question in my head, and I forgot what it was. So let's switch. Do you know what kratom is?
I've heard of it, but I have no idea what it is.
So I take it. I wasn't, like, prescribed it. I kind of I hate this phrase, but I, like, did my own research.
Okay.
About it. You know, I watched documentaries. I read, peer-reviewed articles on it. And it's this powder that comes from a plant in, like, Indonesia.
Okay.
And a lot of people will, like, put it inside pills, and they take pill forms. I make, like, a drink out of it, and I drink it. And a friend of mine suggested it to me, and then, I watched the documentaries and whatnot. And I've had one anxiety attack since I've started drinking it. It's, like, essentially eliminated my anxiety. The anxiety for me was the worst at night, like, trying to sleep is when my mind is, like, all over the place. And then, that's when the attacks happen. So I usually drink it at night, at the end of my night. And it also helps me sleep because I have problems sleeping. It is a miracle. I am so happy that I found it and that I take it. I don't think it's, like, FDA approved sort of thing, but it helps me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm so glad that I found it. So if you want to try it, I sell it.
Yeah, lovely. I'm, like, super, like, in my, like, I don't like medication.
Right.
Like, in my personal life.
Right.
Like, first of all, I have trouble, like, swallowing pills, so that's a whole different story. But, like, I don't even like taking Advil.
Really?
Yeah, so, like, I have panic attacks at night sometimes, and I just, like, am sitting there, like, spinning, and I typically, like, use some type of skill to get out of it, just because, like, that's how I've always been.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, with my girlfriend, she's like, why don't you, like, come get me? Because she's a nurse, so she works super early.
Yeah.
So she goes to bed at, like, 9 o'clock, and that doesn't work for me. So I stay up later, and then that's usually when I have them. Like, when other people are around, I don't have them. So before I started taking kratom, she's like, why don't you come wake me up? I'm like, it's sometimes, like, when I'm in the middle of it, you coming won't help. It just got to let it pass. Like, just sit there, wait for it to pass. It'll pass eventually.
Yeah.
Right? So, God, I had such a good question. I forgot what it was. So
Was it really that good?
I guess not, because I forgot it. But why don't you tell everybody what I did to you yesterday?
Okay, so I don't know. Are we, like, where are we recording? Where can I talk to the people?
So the audio is going to here.
Are we live right now, or are you gonna, like, edit it, like, make us look good?
Well, I'm gonna edit it later. I'm not gonna, like, take anything out.
Okay.
But
so,
if you want people to see,
I'll tell you guys.
I'll put this clip on Instagram too.
Lovely, we love this. So I got a text message last night, and it's like, hey.
I'll move the microphone in front.
I'm loud. They could probably hear me. It's like, hey.
Actually, that's true. Yeah.
Is this Shaina? And I was like, depends who it is. I'll read you the conversation. Actually, let me see if I can get into it. is this Shaina? Depends who it is. And so I said, new phone, who dis? Because I'm trying to be cool. And the response was, your secret admirer, and then, ooh, this game will be fun. And I said, I quit. I am too old for this. I am too... listen, I watch too many murder documentaries to play games about secret admirers. And then the response was, I've had a crush on you since we were 6. And I put this. And the response is, I'm sick of being quiet. I finally decided to reach out for you, and I hope it works out for us. So now... I send out the smoke team. I'm texting my cousin. I'm texting my best friend. I'm texting my other friend. I'm like, whose number is this?
Shout out ASOF.
Texted ASOF if you're watching. JK, it's Tom. Figured it would be easier to text you. Do you know my heart rate was like 130 probably? I was sweating. And now I'm like, did somebody like follow me home from work? Now I'm like paranoid. Now I was crying in PTSD, so anxious, sweating. Like, what the fuck? It was not funny. It was not funny.
So, me and you have been friends since
like Danny
high
Puma,
school.
Right?
So like, I don't know. This year will be my 10-year anniversary from graduating high school. So we've been friends longer than 10 years.
Yeah.
And I've had the same phone number, and
me too, since 7th grade.
I've always had an iPhone. So like, when I get a new iPhone, everything transfers over.
Yeah.
So we were like messaging each other on Instagram all week about today, like what time, do I need to prepare anything, that sort of thing. Do I need to bring anything, this and that? And I'm not always on Instagram, so I was like, let me see if I still have her number. So I texted you yesterday without plans of fucking with you at all.
Yeah.
And then when I realized that you didn't have my number saved, which I'm mad at you about, that means you deleted my number at some point.
Well, I also have been through a lot of phones.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, ooh, this is going to be fun. Like,
it was
she doesn't
not
know
spicy.
it's me.
It was not funny.
It was fun, and I'm really sad.
My boyfriend thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your boyfriend's name?
John.
John. Shout out John. Thank you.
He thought it was he was like giggling.
I'm a funny guy. What if it actually turned out to be like a real secret admirer that you've known since 6? Would he still find it funny?
Probably. Yeah. I want to say yeah.
Good man.
Because like, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
And like the people, that's why I texted ASOF. I've known ASOF since 1st grade.
Yeah.
So if
Is this you, Adam?
No, not that, but like if I knew the person, Adam would know the person.
Yeah,
and then we would do some digging.
Yeah.
And then I was just going to politely be like, I'm in a relationship. Hope it works out for you. Sorry.
Well.
Because you don't want to like be rude to the person and then them like bug the fuck out on you and they know where you live.
Right.
Murder mystery documentary.
Well, I do know where you live.
Yeah.
Well, I know where your house is. I don't know where you live.
Yes.
I think I've been to your parents' house once at some point.
I think so. Yeah.
Long time ago. I couldn't tell you how to get there now.
No.
But, I'm so happy that I know where you live now, like where your house is, because I'm gonna.
Why don't you deliver my food? That's what I wanted to know. Like, I'm kind of curious. Like, we order Uber Eats a lot.
Really?
Oh, wait, no. We do DoorDash.
Oh, that's why.
I did Uber Eats one time. We were trying to get, like, Shake Shack, and it took, like, 2 hours.
Really?
And I was like, screw Uber Eats. I'm never doing this again. Like, because I guess you guys, like, do stops on the way.
Yeah, sometimes.
And it took 2 hours.
Well, here's the thing with Shake Shack.
Yeah.
So I get requests from there all the time.
Yeah.
And they're one of those places that their last resort is the Uber Eats orders. So, like, if there's a lot of
No,
people...
the food was ready.
Oh, was
and
it?
The dude just kept updating, like, oh, the stop before me is, like, there's an issue. And then there was another issue. And there was another issue. And I was just like, Uber Eats, this is no good.
Yeah. They only allow you to have two orders at once.
Yeah.
So that guy was
Maybe he was eating on his... I don't know.
That guy
Either
was
way,
fucking up, but
I've just never done Uber Eats ever again.
there's a lot of times where at Shake Shack, you'll get there and the food's not ready, and then you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and you're like, all right, I've been here 20 minutes, I'm going to cancel the order and I'm going to go, and then another driver will come, and then they do the same thing because the order's not ready yet.
Maybe you should try for DoorDash.
I tried. They did not let me.
What'd you do?
I have a really bad driving record.
And now you Uber Eats.
Well, here's the thing. So I started doing Uber a number of years ago.
Yeah.
Just like as a side thing, like make some extra money. And I got approved, no problem, which I was kind of shocked by. But then, like, I think every year they do a new, like, they redo your background check to make sure that nothing happened during that year, I guess. So then I failed my background check the second year, and then they sent me, like, what was on my driving record that caused me to fail, and it was tickets that I got from before the first time that I passed. So I was like, why did I pass last year but not this year? And nobody was, like, I was calling, like, once a week. It took me 6 months to get it resolved.
Wow.
And the way I got it resolved, I wrote publicly on their Facebook page, like, hey, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And then, like, immediately the Facebook was like, what's their phone number? We're going to call you right now. Within an hour of writing on their Facebook page, I was back up and running on Uber.
Wow.
So you got to publicly shame these companies in order for them to do anything.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough, but I'm glad I started doing it because it's especially with last year that I had like a fallback plan because I was working for like some landscaping company and they kind of fucked me over real bad. Like when the pandemic hit, they're like, hey, we're staying open. And then like 3 or 4 people came into work with COVID actively.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yeah, I live with my grandma who's 80, my parents are 60, my sister has asthma, my girlfriend has diabetes. Like I'm with all high-risk people. Like I'm not coming here. So then I tried to file for unemployment, and then I guess how unemployment works, they like call your job, like if you're doing temporary unemployment. I have no idea. I've never been on it before. So then I got a call from my boss like, hey, unemployment just called us, and we told them that we're offering you work, and you're choosing not to take it, so you're not going to be able to collect unemployment. I'm like, all right, cool, thanks.
That sucks. So
then I just started doing Uber Eats full time, and I was making way more money than I was at the other job.
I tip my drivers very well, I will say that.
Thank you.
I know, I see like your posts all the time that are like, tip your driver, and like, I probably over-tip because I used to be a server. Yeah. So, like, I'm tipping, like, 20% on these orders. And I'm like, I wonder if other people tip. And then I see your posts that are, like, $1. And I'm like...
Yeah, I did a ride yesterday where somebody tipped me 47 cents.
Oh, like they rounded up.
Yeah. Like,
yeah, no, I always tip my, DoorDash drivers, like, really well. So you should DoorDash.
Yeah, I would love to. But I guess I got to wait for that stuff to get off my driving record. So now with the Uber Eats, I'm trying to become like an umpire again.
Okay.
So like the Uber Eats, what's cool is that it's flexible. Like
you can do whatever you want.
I don't have a boss. I can choose to work when and whenever not.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, what day works for you? I was like, my schedule's wide open. Like I can work whenever and not work whenever. It's pretty cool, and it gives me the flexibility to be able to do a podcast
that's pretty cool.
during the day. And I also want to, like, I'm certified ref and judge for MMA fights as well. But I got certified right before COVID hit. Yeah. So, like, you need to do amateur fights first, and amateur fights are based on income from ticket sales.
Which you're not getting.
People can't come, so there's no amateur events right now. So I am certified. I just haven't started doing it yet. So it's cool that I have the flexibility to be able to pursue other
So who's on the podcast next?
My next guest?
Yeah, do we have a guest?
Nothing planned. I did have a buddy of mine. Oh, I don't even want to say that he's a buddy. I don't know who he is. He's from New Jersey.
Okay.
I think he lives in Middletown. I don't want to say his name, but he asked to be on.
Okay. What's the topic?
He said mental health.
Oh, okay.
So I might want to put a little space between this one and that one.
So we got some competition.
Right.
Are they therapists?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think he's just someone that deals with similar issues that I have. And like he can relate. But he always reaches out to me about how he watches, he listens to every episode. And it's pretty cool that somebody that
That's so nice.
Unless I do know him, but I've gone on his Instagram page and he doesn't look familiar. So if he listens to this.
We can just cut this out.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, perfect.
But like, thank you for listening. But
sometimes we know people and then we don't realize we know them.
Right.
And we're like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you still talk to anybody from high school?
Yeah, some of my friends.
Other than me, obviously.
Yeah, I talk to Steph all the time. Dorino, shout out Steph. And Asoph all the time. Let's see who else. My friend Gina. I don't know if you know Dylan Chanis. His wifey, Gina. She does amazing vegan cooking, and she does like YouTube and things like that. And that's about it. Yeah. I keep my circle pretty small.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I go to the gym.
Oh, and Danny
Puma.
And I come here.
He just moved.
I know.
He was on he was on the podcast.
Was he really?
Yeah.
When?
Like the week before he left.
Okay.
Yeah, he told me that he was getting ready to leave, and he had like a going away party at his house. And I was like, I gotta get you on the podcast before you leave.
Did he play music? Do I have to go?
No,
oh, okay.
he did not. I should have asked him to.
You should have. How did you miss that opportunity? Like, bring your guitar.
Yeah, and I went to his house too, so like I brought my equipment there.
And it was literally right there, and you just missed it.
It's a big fuck up.
That's a big fuck up.
So.
Did that question come back?
It did not.
Okay.
But I'm sure right after you leave it will, and then I'll text you.
Okay, perfect.
And then we'll FaceTime, and I'll add it in.
You're gonna FaceTime. Wow. Okay.
I'll screen record.
Love that for you. Okay. Wow.
All right. Anything else you want to get off your chest here? We're at an hour and 5 minutes.
If people are looking for, I'm like hunched over as if they can see me and they're over there. If people are looking for mental health stuff, I have an Instagram page.
Okay.
It's called Minute Mental Health. And I made it at like the beginning of January because I was bored. And I know that a lot of people are struggling. So I was like, let me just put out like easy, accessible mental health skills and quotes and things that are like psychoeducational. Like it's not a substitute for therapy, but it's certainly a nice place to start.
Yeah.
And like navigate the world that way. I post like 3 or 4 times a week.
Cool.
So shameless plug.
No, not shameless at all. That's funny. I wonder how many people are like, no, I don't go to therapy. I follow this page on Instagram.
Listen, a lot of people follow like therapy pages on Instagram and then get upset when there's no response.
Right.
And like, I have a lot of disclaimers on my page. It's like, this is not therapy. I'm not going to answer personal questions. Like, I'm not answering DMs. Like, I am not responsible for your mental well-being.
Right.
This is just for like education and like fun.
Right. Yeah. Well, I appreciate everything that you do for the community. What you do is super important.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for everything you've done for me personally.
Yeah.
You've reached out to me a number of times over the years. I assume based on what I put out there, you're like, all right, this kid's going through some shit. Let me reach out. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you're the one that suggested Psychology Today to try to get better, more affordable care. And I found the guy that's, important to me and he's really helping me. And
does he know you have a podcast?
He does, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I don't think he listens. He hasn't asked what the name of it is.
Okay.
But
All right.
I talk about the podcast in therapy often. And he kind of just like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
He doesn't like, what's the name of it? I want to listen and then analyze how crazy you go on it. Because like Asaf said, I am a bit of a character on this show. So thank you again for everything. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
All right, so the way I always end my show is reminding everybody that Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself.
Oh my goodness.